My name is Harry Foster, 72 years old. Built a bakery empire with these hands. Yesterday was Father's Day. I heard my daughters on the phone. We need an action plan for Dad's $15 million before he does something stupid. Today, every penny is gone. But here's what they didn't know when they showed up with legal papers instead of flowers. I'd already sold everything I owned once before, 20 years ago, to pay for their dreams, and now they wanted to take what I'd built back. Wrong move, girls. See, when your own children start treating you like a walking ATM, you learn something important about love. Real love doesn't come with a price tag. And fake love? Well, fake love gets exactly what it deserves. Nothing. This is the story of how I gave my daughters everything twice, and why I'll never make that mistake again. If you've ever wondered where the line is between family loyalty and self-respect, stick around. Because what happened next will change how you think about money, family, and the price of unconditional love forever. Let me paint you the picture first. Foster's Bakery wasn't just some corner shop. 4 generations of Foster men had worked those ovens. My great-grandfather started it in 1923. My grandfather expanded it through the Depression. My father turned it into the heart of Millbrook. And me? I was there every morning at 4 a.m. for 40 years straight. Never missed a day. Not when Patricia was born. Not when Jennifer had her appendix out. Not even when my wife Sarah was dying in the hospital. Because that's what Foster men did. We provided. The bakery sat on Main Street, right across from the old courthouse. Red brick building with white trim. Had our name painted on the window in gold letters. Foster's Bakery, Esta 1923. Sarah used to say you could smell our cinnamon rolls 3 blocks away. She was right. By the 1990s, we were pulling in good money. Real good money. Not just from the storefront, but from wholesale contracts with restaurants, hotels, even the university dining halls 2 towns over. Patricia was always the ambitious one. Straight A's, debate team captain, full scholarship to state. But state wasn't enough for her. She wanted business school. An MBA from one of those fancy East Coast places. Dad, it's my ticket to the big leagues, she'd say. Jennifer was different, quieter, more practical. She wanted to buy a house right after college. Get my foot on the property ladder early, she'd explain. Build equity instead of throwing money away on rent. Smart girls, both of them. And I was proud. Sarah and I, we'd raised daughters who thought big, who planned ahead. Here's what they didn't know. Their grandfather, my father, had died with more debt than assets. Left me the bakery, sure, but also a mountain of equipment loans and back taxes. It took me 15 years just to get us back to zero. So when Patricia came to me in 2003 needing money for business school, and Jennifer needed her down payment in 2004, well, let's just say the timing was interesting. Don't worry about it, sweetheart, I'd told each of them. Your grandfather left some money. He'd want you to have opportunities. Small lie. Easier than explaining how I'd sold the building and was leasing it back. Easier than telling them I'd liquidated our retirement savings. Easier than admitting their old man was starting over at 55. But you know what? Watching Patricia walk across that graduation stage with her MBA, seeing Jennifer get the keys to her first house, worth every penny, worth every 4 a.m. wake-up call for the next 20 years, worth every ache in these old bones. That's what fathers do. We sacrifice. We don't keep score. We just love. Or at least that's what I thought love looked like. The girls did well for themselves. Patricia landed a corner office at some marketing firm in the city. Jennifer got her real estate license, started flipping houses. Both married decent men. Both bought bigger houses in better neighborhoods. And both got busy. Really busy. The weekly calls turned into monthly calls. Then holiday calls, then just Christmas and birthdays. I understood. Success takes time. Success takes focus. When Sarah died 2 years ago, they both came to the funeral, stayed for the weekend, helped me sort through her things. Dad, you should think about selling this big old house, Patricia had said. Move somewhere smaller, easier to maintain. Or maybe look into one of those active senior communities, Jennifer added. You know, where you can make friends your own age. Made sense. I was rattling around in a 4-bedroom house by myself, but I wasn't ready, not yet. The house still smelled like Sarah's lavender soap, still had her coffee mug in the cabinet, still had pictures of the girls from when they were small, covering every surface. So I stayed. and they went back to their busy lives. Which brings us to Father's Day, 2024, the day everything changed. June 16th, 2024, Father's Day. I was in the kitchen making my morning coffee when the chest pains started. Not the sharp movie-style heart attack kind, more like someone was sitting on my chest, heavy, persistent. The kind of pain that whispers, "This is it, old man." I'd had episodes before, small ones. Dr. Martinez had warned me about stress, about taking my medication, but this felt different, bigger. I fumbled for my phone, thinking I should call 911, then stopped. What if it was nothing? What if I ended up in the ER over indigestion? Instead, I called Patricia. "Hi, Dad." Her voice sounded bright, cheerful. "Happy Father's Day. I was just about to call you." "Sweetheart, I'm not feeling so great. Chest pains. I think maybe I should—" "Oh, no, Dad. Do you want me to come over?" "Well, if you could— Actually, let me call Jennifer first, see if she's available. You know how crazy my schedule is with the Peterson account launching Monday." "Of course, honey, but—" "Hold on, Dad. I'm getting another call. Can I call you right back?" The line went dead. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling foolish. Here I was, potentially having a heart attack, and I was worried about inconveniencing my daughters. 5 minutes passed. 10. 15. No callback. The chest pain was getting worse. I really did need to get to a hospital. I picked up the phone to try Jennifer directly when I heard voices coming from the den. Voices I recognized. My phone was still connected to Patricia's call. She must have accidentally conferenced me in when she called Jennifer. They couldn't hear me, but I could hear them. "Told you he'd start having problems," Patricia was saying. "He's 72, Jen. This was inevitable." "I know, but the timing is terrible. Brad and I just put an offer on that lake house. Listen, we need to be smart about this. If Dad ends up in the hospital or worse, we need an action plan." Action plan. Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. "What do you mean?" Jennifer asked. "I mean, we need to make sure he doesn't do anything stupid with his money before he dies?" "Don't say it like that, but yes, think about it. He's got that big house, plus whatever's left from selling the bakery, plus all of Mom's life insurance money. We're talking serious money here." My hands were shaking now, not from the chest pain, from what I was hearing. "How much do you think?" Jennifer asked. I looked up property values on Zillow. The house alone is worth at least $800,000, and remember, he paid cash for it back in the day, no mortgage. Jesus, I had no idea. That's just the house, Jen. Think about everything else. The bakery sale, Mom's insurance, 40 years of savings. He's probably sitting on $15 million easy. $15 million. They thought I had $15 million, and they were planning what to do with it. "So, what's this action plan?" Jennifer asked. "We need to get him to update his will, make sure everything's spelled out clearly, no ambiguity. And honestly, we should probably talk to him about signing some kind of power of attorney. In case he starts getting dementia or something." Power of attorney? Think about it, Jen. He's old, he's alone, he's probably scared. Prime target for scammers, gold diggers, whatever. We need to protect him from himself. Protect me from myself, my own daughters. "I guess that makes sense," Jennifer said slowly. "But how do we bring it up without seeming like vultures? We just frame it as caring about his welfare, which we do. It's not like we're being greedy here. We're his daughters. This money is going to be ours eventually anyway." "Eventually." "Right," Jennifer agreed. "And honestly, it's not like he needs $15 million at his age. What's he going to do, buy a yacht?" They both laughed. They actually laughed. "Exactly. Look, I'm going to call him back and tell him I'm coming over. You should come too. We'll take him to the hospital, make sure he's okay, and then we'll have a gentle conversation about estate planning." Today? On Father's Day? Perfect timing, actually. He'll be emotional, grateful we're there, more likely to listen to reason. Reason. Okay, but Pat, we need to be careful about how we approach this. You know how stubborn he can be. Leave it to me. I handle millionaire clients all day long. I know how to have these conversations. Millionaire clients, that's what I was to them. A client. Should we bring anything? Flowers? A card? Actually, Jen, maybe skip the flowers. Bring those power of attorney forms we looked at last month. And the contact info for that estate planning attorney. What was his name? Whitmore? Whitman. Richard Whitman. Right. Bring his card. If Dad's having health scares, we need to move fast. Move fast. The chest pain was gone now. Completely gone. Funny how shock can cure a heart attack, but it had been replaced by something worse. A different kind of pain. The kind that starts in your chest and spreads everywhere. The kind that comes from realizing your own children see you as nothing more than a walking inheritance. Okay, Patricia continued. I'll be there in an hour. You? Same. And Pat? Maybe we should get him to sign something today. You know, while he's feeling vulnerable. While I'm feeling vulnerable. Good thinking. Bring a notary app on your phone just in case. The line went dead. I sat in my kitchen, staring at my phone. My daughters weren't coming to take care of me. They were coming to take care of my money. I need to tell you something about that $15 million. They were right about the amount, almost exactly right, but they were wrong about everything else. See, my daughters thought their grandfather, my father, had left me money. That's the story I'd told them. That's the story I'd been telling myself I'd tell them someday when the time was right. But there never seemed to be a right time to explain how their college educations had actually been paid for. Let me take you back to 2003. Patricia was finishing her undergraduate degree, talking about business school. The application alone cost $300. Then there were the GMAT prep courses, the campus visits, the application fees for 8 different schools. Small money, compared to what came next. "Dad, I got in," she'd called me, breathless with excitement. Harvard, Wharton, and Stanford all said yes. I was so proud I couldn't speak. "The only thing is," she continued, "it's expensive, really expensive. Like $280,000 for the 2-year program at Harvard. $280,000. I made coffee and did the math. Foster's Bakery was profitable, sure, but that kind of money? That was more than I'd saved in 20 years. "Don't worry about it, sweetheart," I heard myself saying. "Your grandfather set aside money for your education. He always said he wanted his granddaughters to have opportunities he never had." The lie came so easily. That night I couldn't sleep. Sarah kept asking what was wrong. "How are we going to pay for this?" I finally asked. "We'll figure it out," she said. "We always do." But there was only one way to figure it out. The bakery building itself was worth $420,000. We owned it free and clear, so I sold it. To be precise, I sold it to a development company called Millbrook Properties for $420,000 cash, then immediately signed a leaseback agreement to rent the same space for the next 20 years. Essentially, I'd traded my building for the money to send Patricia to business school, but I didn't tell her that. I told her grandfather had left education money, made her promise not to tell Jennifer because your sister will get her share when the time comes. Patricia graduated summa cum laude, landed a job at Peterson and Associates, making 6 figures right out of school. She sent me a picture of herself on graduation day holding her diploma, worth every penny. Then, 1 year later, Jennifer came to me. "Dad, I found the perfect house. It's a fixer-upper in Riverside Heights, but the bones are good. I can get it for $320, put $60,000 into renovations, and flip it for $500 easy. Sounds like a solid plan, honey. The only problem is the down payment. I need $64,000 and my savings account has exactly $12,000. I looked at the paperwork she'd brought. Purchase price, $320,000. Down payment, 20%. "Don't worry about it," I said. "Your grandfather left education money for you too." Another lie. But this time I couldn't sell a building. I'd already sold the building, so I liquidated everything else. Our retirement account, $43,000. Gone. Sarah's jewelry collection inherited from her mother, $12,000. Gone. The life insurance policy I'd been paying into for 30 years, cash surrender value, $18,000. Gone. Added together, it was enough for Jennifer's down payment. Barely. But Jennifer didn't know any of that. She thought it was grandfather money. She bought the house, renovated it herself, sold it 8 months later for $490,000, made $150,000 profit. Started her real estate career with that money. Both my daughters thought their success had come from their grandfather's generosity and their own hard work. Neither knew their father had sold his inheritance to give them their start. And you know what? I was okay with that. That's what fathers do. We sacrifice in silence. We give our children wings. Then we stand back and watch them soar. We don't keep receipts. We don't send invoices. We don't demand gratitude. At least, That's what I thought being a father meant. For 20 years, I worked twice as hard to rebuild what I'd given away. Longer hours, smaller margins, but gradually, slowly, I'd built it back up. The house Sarah and I bought in 2010, paid cash, $800,000. The investment account I'd started after selling the bakery lease in 2018, $3.7 million. Sarah's new life insurance policy, $4.2 million. Various savings, CDs, bonds, and checking accounts, another $2.1 million. Total, about $15 million, give or take. But every dollar of it earned after my children were grown. Every dollar of it built on the foundation of sacrifices they'd never known I'd made. And now they wanted to protect it from me. They wanted to make sure I didn't do anything stupid with money I'd earned by selling everything I'd inherited so they could have their dreams. The irony was almost funny. If my chest wasn't still aching from hearing them plan my financial future, like I was already dead. I had exactly 53 minutes before Patricia and Jennifer arrived. 53 minutes to decide what kind of father I wanted to be for the rest of my life. The old Harry would have pretended he hadn't heard anything, would have welcomed them with open arms, maybe even been grateful they were concerned about his estate planning. The old Harry would have signed whatever papers they brought, told himself they were just looking out for him. But the old Harry had never heard his daughters laugh about him not needing $15 million at his age. The old Harry had never been called a millionaire client by his own child. I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Sarah and I had planned our weekly grocery budgets for 30 years, and I made a decision. I was not going to be anyone's retirement plan, not even my own daughter's. The phone book was in the junk drawer, just like it had been for 20 years. I flipped to the yellow pages, found attorneys, estate planning. Richard Whitman's ad was right there, same attorney my daughters had researched. How convenient. I called his emergency number. Mr. Whitman, this is Harry Foster. I need to see you today. Right now, actually. Mr. Foster, it's Sunday, Father's Day. Unless this is truly an emergency. It is. I need to restructure my entire estate in the next 4 hours. I'll pay whatever you charge for emergency Sunday consultation. A pause. How substantial is the estate we're discussing? $15 million, give or take. I'll meet you at my office in 30 minutes. Money talks. Even on Father's Day. I grabbed my keys, my wallet, and a folder I kept in the bedroom closet. Bank statements, investment accounts, property deeds, insurance policies, everything. The drive to Whitman's office took 12 minutes. I'd driven past his building 100 times, but never paid attention to it. Modern glass structure, professional, but not flashy. He was waiting in the lobby. Mr. Foster? Richard Whitman. Please, come up. Whitman looked exactly like I'd expected. Mid-50s, expensive suit even on a Sunday, gold watch. The kind of lawyer who specialized in rich people's problems, which apparently I now had. So, he said, settling behind his desk, what kind of restructuring are we talking about? I took a deep breath. I want to remove my daughters as beneficiaries from everything. All of it. Estate, life insurance, bank accounts, investment portfolios, everything. His eyebrows went up. That's quite significant. May I ask why? I told him about the phone call, about the action plan, about them coming over with power of attorney forms and notary apps. I see, he said quietly. And what would you like to do with the assets instead? I hadn't thought that far ahead. I need suggestions. For the next 20 minutes, Whitman walked me through options, private foundations, charitable trusts, educational endowments. Given your background in the bakery business, he said, might I suggest establishing a vocational training fund? Something that teaches practical skills to young people who can't afford traditional college? That felt right. Foster's Legacy Fund, I said, teaching kids how to work with their hands, baking, carpentry, plumbing, electrical work, real skills. Excellent. We can structure it as an irrevocable trust. Once established, you cannot change the beneficiaries back, even if you wanted to. Good. I don't want to be tempted to go soft. There's one more thing we should discuss, Whitman said. Your daughters will likely contest this. They may claim you were coerced, or mentally incompetent, or acting under duress. How do we prevent that? Documentation. We'll video record your statement of intent. We'll have you undergo a mental competency evaluation with a court-approved psychologist. We'll document that you're acting of your own free will, with full understanding of the consequences. How long will all this take? If we start now, we can have the basic trust documents ready by 4 o'clock. The video statement and competency evaluation can be done this week. 4 o'clock. Patricia and Jennifer would be arriving at my house around 5:30. Perfect timing. Let's do it. We spent the next 3 hours restructuring my entire financial life. Every account, every policy, every asset, all of it flowing into Foster's legacy fund. All of it removed from my daughter's future. When we finished, Whitman looked at me seriously. "Mr. Foster, I have to ask, are you certain about this? This is irreversible." I thought about Patricia laughing that I didn't need $15 million at my age. I thought about Jennifer bringing notary apps to my potential deathbed. I thought about them planning my estate while I was having chest pains. I'm certain. Then congratulations. You're no longer worth $15 million. For the first time all day, I smiled. Exactly. At 4:15 p.m., I walked back into my house as a completely different man. Legally speaking, I now owned almost nothing. The house? Transferred to Foster's legacy fund, with a life estate allowing me to live there until death. The investment accounts? All of them now belong to the fund. Sarah's life insurance money? Fund property? My checking and savings accounts? I'd kept $50,000 for living expenses. Everything else belonged to kids I'd never met. Kids who would learn to make bread and build cabinets and wire houses. Kids who would never know their education came from a father who'd been betrayed on Father's Day. But there was still work to do. I needed evidence. The phone call recording was buried somewhere in my phone's history, but I wasn't tech-savvy enough to find it. So I did something simpler. I called Patricia back. "Dad, oh my God, I'm so sorry I never called you back. Is everything okay? Are you still having chest pains?" "I'm feeling better, sweetheart. But you're right. I should probably go to the hospital, just to be safe." "Of course!" "Jennifer and I are already in the car. We'll be there in 20 minutes. "That's wonderful. I really appreciate... Actually, Dad, can I put you on speaker? Jen's here, too." "Hi, Dad." Jennifer's voice came through. "We were so worried when Pat told me about the chest pains. This was perfect. Girls, I need to tell you something. I've been thinking about what happens if these chest pains are serious. About my finances, my estate, all of that. Dad, you don't need to worry about... No, Patricia, let me finish. I've been irresponsible. I should have planned better. What if something happens to me and you girls don't know where everything is?" A pause. Then Patricia's voice, more interested now. "What do you mean, Dad?" "Well, for instance, do you know how much money I actually have?" We never really talked about that," Jennifer said carefully. "It's more than you think. Much more. When your mother died, the life insurance alone was over $4 million. Combined with the house, the investments, everything, we're talking about $15 million, give or take." I could practically hear them salivating through the phone. That's wonderful, Dad. Really wonderful." "But here's what worries me," I continued. "What if I get dementia? What if someone tries to take advantage of me? What if I start making bad financial decisions?" "Dad, we would never let that happen," Patricia said quickly. "But how could you stop it? You'd need legal authority, power of attorney maybe, the ability to make decisions on my behalf." "Well, if you think that would be helpful, I do. In fact, I've been thinking maybe we should set up a meeting with an estate planning attorney, someone who could walk us through all the options." "That's such a smart idea, Dad," Jennifer said. "Actually, we were just talking about that, about how we could help you protect your assets." "Protect my assets? Really, you've been thinking about my money?" A pause, a longer pause. "Well, not your money specifically," Patricia said quickly. "Just, making sure you're taken care of." "That's so thoughtful. When were you talking about this?" Another pause. "Oh, just generally, over time." They weren't going to admit it, not directly, but that was okay. I had what I needed. "Well, girls, I'm so grateful you're coming over. We can talk about all of this in person." "Absolutely, Dad. We'll take care of everything. Take care of everything. I love you both so much." "We love you too, Dad." I hung up and looked around my house. My empty house that legally wasn't mine anymore. It felt lighter somehow. At exactly 5:32 p.m., I heard Patricia's BMW pull into the driveway. Through the window, I watched them get out. Patricia had a leather briefcase. Jennifer had a folder and what looked like a tablet. They weren't carrying flowers. They weren't carrying a get-well card. They were carrying paperwork. The doorbell rang. "Dad, it's us." I opened the door. Both girls hugged me, asked about my chest pains, guided me to the living room couch. "You look good, Dad," Patricia said. "Much better than you sounded on the phone." "Yeah, the pain went away, but I'm still worried about, what we talked about, my finances." "Right." Patricia opened her briefcase. "Actually, Dad, we brought some things that might help with that." Jennifer opened her folder. "We did some research," Jennifer said, "about estate planning, power of attorney, that kind of thing." "How thoughtful." "This is a basic power of attorney form," Patricia explained, pulling out several sheets of paper. "It would give us the legal authority to help manage your affairs if you ever become unable to do so yourself." "And this," Jennifer added, "is the contact information for an estate planning attorney. Richard Whitman. He specializes in high net worth clients." Richard Whitman. The same Richard Whitman who had spent 3 hours helping me make sure they'd inherit nothing. "Have you worked with Mr. Whitman before?" I asked innocently. "Oh, no," Patricia said quickly. "We just researched him online." "Seems very qualified," Jennifer added. I looked at the papers they'd brought. Professional forms, properly formatted. This wasn't something they'd thrown together that afternoon. This was planned. "These look very thorough," I said, "almost like you've been thinking about this for a while." "Well," Patricia said, "we just want to be prepared, in case anything happens." "In case anything happens to me, you mean?" "Dad, don't say it like that." "Like what?" Like we're waiting for you to die or something." I looked at my daughters. Patricia in her expensive business suit, Jennifer with her designer handbag, both of them sitting on the edge of their seats, waiting for me to sign papers that would give them control of money they thought I had. Money they believed was rightfully theirs. Money they'd never known I'd already sacrificed once, 20 years ago, so they could have their dreams. "Girls," I said quietly, "I need to tell you something." "Before I sign anything," I said, setting their papers aside, "I need to ask you something." Patricia and Jennifer exchanged glances. "Of course, Dad. What is it?" "When exactly did you two start planning this conversation?" "Planning?" Jennifer looked confused. "We're not planning anything. We're just trying to help." "Help with what, specifically?" "Help you protect your assets," Patricia said, "like we discussed on the phone." "Right. And when did you first start discussing my assets between yourselves?" Another glance. Longer this time. "Dad, what are you getting at?" Patricia asked. I pulled out my phone. Tapped the screen a few times. "I'm getting at this." I pressed play. Patricia's voice filled the room. "Told you he'd start having problems. He's 72, Jen. This was inevitable." The color drained from both their faces. Jennifer's voice. "I know, but the timing is terrible. Brad and I just put an offer on that lake house." Patricia leaned forward. "Dad, where did you—" "Listen, we need to be smart about this. If Dad ends up in the hospital, or worse, we need an action plan." I pressed pause. The silence in the room was deafening. "You recorded us?" Jennifer whispered. "I didn't record anything. You accidentally left me on the call this morning, when you called to check on my chest pains, remember? Then forgot to hang up when you called Jennifer." Patricia's hands were shaking slightly. "Dad, you have to understand." I pressed play again. "Think about it. He's got that big house, plus whatever's left from selling the bakery, plus all of Mom's life insurance money. We're talking serious money here." Jennifer stood up abruptly. "Dad, stop. How much do you think?" I looked up property values on Zillow. The house alone is worth at least $800,000. And remember, he paid cash for it back in the day. No mortgage. Jesus, I had no idea. "That's just the house, Jen. Think about everything else. The bakery sale, Mom's insurance, 40 years of savings. He's probably sitting on $15 million easy." I pressed pause again. $15 million easy, I repeated. "Very specific number, Patricia." Dad, please let us explain. We need to get him to update his will. Make sure everything's spelled out clearly. No ambiguity. And honestly, we should probably talk to him about signing some kind of power of attorney. Jennifer sank back into her chair. Oh, God. You know, in case he starts getting dementia or something. Power of attorney, I said, looking at the papers they'd brought. In case I get dementia. Patricia was crying now. Not sobbing, just tears running down her cheeks. Think about it, Jen. He's old, he's alone, he's probably scared. Prime target for scammers, gold diggers, whatever. We need to protect him from himself. Protect me from myself, I said. Dad, that's not what we meant. It's not like we're being greedy here. We're his daughters. This money is going to be ours eventually anyway. Eventually, I repeated. And honestly, it's not like he needs $15 million at his age. What's he going to do, buy a yacht? The sound of their laughter filled the room. Their laughter. At the idea of their 72-year-old father having money, I turned off the recording. So, I said quietly, here we are. Patricia wiped her eyes. Dad, I know how this sounds, but how does it sound, Patricia? Like we're terrible daughters. Like we don't care about you. Do you? Of course we do. Then explain something to me. When you heard I was having chest pains this morning, your first thought was to call Jennifer and plan an action plan for my money. That's not... We were scared, Dad. We were thinking about what would happen if I died. Don't say it like that. Like what? Like the truth. Jennifer spoke up quietly. Dad, we love you. We were just trying to be responsible. Responsible about what? About your estate. About making sure everything was handled properly. For who? A pause. For everyone. For you. For us. For you. Dad, you're our father. Of course we care about what happens to your money when you're gone. I'm not gone, Jennifer. I'm sitting right here. I know that. I just meant... You meant eventually. Another pause. Yes, she said quietly. Eventually. I looked at these two women, my daughters, the babies I'd held, the children I'd read bedtime stories to, the teenagers I'd worried about, the young adults I'd sacrificed everything to help launch into their successful lives. Let me tell you about that $15 million, I said. Patricia straightened up. Dad, you don't need to... Yes, I do. I walked to the dining room and returned with a folder. The same folder I'd taken to Whitman's office. You want to know where this money came from? Let me show you. I pulled out a document, yellowed with age, covered in official stamps. This is the deed transfer for Foster's Bakery building, dated March 15th, 2003. Sale price? $420,000. Patricia squinted at the paper. You sold the bakery building? To pay for your MBA. What do you mean? I mean your grandfather didn't leave education money, Patricia. I sold our family building, 4 generations of Foster ownership, to send you to Harvard Business School. The paper slipped from her fingers. That's impossible. You said... I lied. I pulled out another document. And this is the withdrawal slip from our retirement account, March 22nd, 2004. Full liquidation, $43,000. Plus the cash surrender value from my life insurance policy, $18,000. Plus the proceeds from selling your mother's jewelry collection, $12,000. Jennifer was staring at the papers like they might burst into flames. That's $73,000, I continued, almost enough for your down payment on the Riverside Heights house. I had to borrow the rest from the bank. Dad, stop. Your grandfather didn't leave money for you either, Jennifer. I destroyed our financial security twice to give you girls your start in life. The room was completely silent except for the tick of the grandfather clock in the corner. Every dollar of that $15 million was earned after you two were grown and gone. Every dollar was built on the foundation of everything I'd sacrificed for your futures. Patricia's voice was barely a whisper. We didn't know. You weren't supposed to know. That's what fathers do. We sacrifice in silence. We don't keep score. I gathered up the papers they'd brought. But we also don't expect our children to plan our funerals while we're still breathing. Dad, please. Let me ask you something, girls. Do you know what I did today, after I heard your little action plan conversation? They shook their heads. I went to see Richard Whitman, your estate planning attorney. Their eyes widened, and I restructured my entire estate. What do you mean? Jennifer asked. I mean, I took your advice. I made sure my money wouldn't go to the wrong people. I looked at both of them. All of it, every penny of that $15 million, now belongs to Foster's Legacy Fund, a vocational training program for kids who can't afford college. You can't do that, Patricia said. I already did. We'll contest it. We'll prove you were coerced or mentally incompetent or... With what evidence? The recording of you planning to take control of my assets? The power of attorney papers you brought to my deathbed? Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. The decision is final and irrevocable, girls. Congratulations. You successfully protected my money from the wrong people. You're our father, Jennifer said, standing up. That money should be ours. And there it was. The truth, finally. Should be yours because you're my daughters, or should be yours because you earned it? Both, she said defiantly. Then you understand exactly why it's not. The silence stretched between us like a canyon. Patricia was the first to try crossing it. Dad, you're making a mistake. A huge mistake. We're your family. Are you? Of course we are. We're your daughters. Being my daughters biologically doesn't make you my family, Patricia. Family doesn't plot inheritance grabs while their father is having chest pains. Jennifer stood up, pacing now. We weren't plotting anything. We were being practical. About my death. About your future. About making sure you're taken care of. By taking control of my money. By protecting you from making bad decisions. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Bad decisions? Like what? Like giving away $15 million to strangers. You mean like I gave away everything I had to you 20 years ago? That stopped her pacing. That was different, Patricia said quietly. How? That was love. You loved us. And this isn't love? This is spite. Is it? I walked to the mantelpiece where Sarah's picture sat next to photos of the girls from their childhood. Patricia in her Little League uniform. Jennifer at her high school graduation. Let me tell you what spite would look like, I said. Spite would be calling you both and telling you never to contact me again. Spite would be selling this house and moving to Florida without leaving a forwarding address. Spite would be spending every penny on cruises and casinos just to make sure you got nothing. I turned back to them. But that's not what I did. You gave our inheritance to strangers, Jennifer said bitterly. Your inheritance? When did my money become your inheritance? When you became our father. I see. So the moment you were born, I stopped owning my own money? That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. You've been counting money that was never yours to count. Patricia wiped her eyes. Dad, we assumed. You assumed I existed to make your lives easier. That's not love, sweetheart. That's convenience. We love you. Do you? Or do you love what I represent? What does that mean? It means when you heard I was having chest pains, your first concern wasn't my health. It was my money. When you came here today, you didn't bring flowers or soup or medicine. You brought legal papers. Jennifer sat back down heavily. God, we really did that, didn't we? You really did. But Dad, Patricia said, you have to understand our perspective. We've been working so hard, saving for retirement, planning for our kids' college funds, and knowing you had all this money just sitting there. Just sitting there. I mean, not being used, not helping anyone. Not helping you, you mean? She had the grace to look ashamed. Maybe, yes, not helping us. And that felt unfair to you. A little, yes. I nodded. I understand. You worked hard for your success. You sacrificed. You planned. You deserve to reap the benefits. Hope flickered in her eyes. Exactly. So you understand why I worked hard for 40 years to rebuild what I'd given you. Why I sacrificed my inheritance from my father to give you yours. Why I planned and saved and invested for decades. The hope faded. And why I deserve to decide what happens to the benefits. But we're your daughters. Yes, you are, and I loved you enough to give you everything once. But love doesn't obligate me to give you everything twice. Jennifer looked up. What if we apologize? What if we promise never to what? Never to want my money? Never to plan what you'll do with it when I'm dead? Never to see me as a walking inheritance? She didn't answer. You can't promise that, Jennifer, because it's who you've become. It's how you think of me now. That's not true. Isn't it? Tell me honestly. When was the last time you called just to talk? Not to check on my health, not to ask about my finances, just to chat? A long pause. I don't remember, she admitted quietly. When was the last time you visited without wanting something? Another pause. Christmas, maybe? And what did you want at Christmas? We suggested you think about downsizing. You wanted my house. We wanted you to be safe. You wanted my house. She started crying then. Real tears, not the tactical ones from earlier. We became terrible people, didn't we? No, I said gently. You became practical people, focused people, people who think about money and assets and financial planning. That's terrible. It's American. Nothing wrong with it. But it's not family. Patricia spoke up, her voice small. What if we tried to change? What if we... Patricia, listen to me carefully. The money is gone. Irrevocably. Forever. There's no changing that. But what about us? What about our relationship? What about it? Can we fix it? I looked at my daughters. Really looked at them. Patricia, successful and driven, crying quietly into her hands. Jennifer, ambitious and practical, staring at the floor like it held answers. Both of them realizing, maybe for the first time, that their father was a person with feelings and agency, not just a repository of future wealth. I don't know, I said honestly. Can you love a father who isn't rich? Yes, Jennifer said quickly. Can you visit a father who has nothing to leave you? Yes. Can you call a father just because you miss him, not because you're checking his mental competency? Yes. God, yes. Then maybe we can try. But first, there was one more thing they needed to understand. The decision about the money stands, I said firmly. That's not negotiable. That's not reversible. That's not up for discussion today or ever. They nodded. If you can accept that, if you can love a poor father as much as you thought you loved a rich one, then we'll see. We can, Patricia said. We will. Time will tell. I walked them to the door. Girls, they turned. The chest pains this morning? They were real. I really might need to go to the hospital sometime soon. Do you want us to take you now? Jennifer asked. No, but when that day comes, I hope you'll bring flowers instead of paperwork. They both hugged me then. For the first time in years, it felt real. They left around 8 o'clock. I sat in my living room, my empty, legally not mine living room, and felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. Not happiness, exactly. Not satisfaction in some petty victory. Just quiet. For the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't wondering what my daughters wanted from me. I wasn't parsing their phone calls for hidden meanings. I wasn't questioning whether they loved me or my money. There was no money left to love, just me. I made myself a simple dinner, scrambled eggs and toast, the kind of meal Sarah used to make when we were young and broke and happy. While I ate, I thought about the kids who would benefit from Foster's legacy fund, teenagers who couldn't afford college but had good hands and strong backs, kids who wanted to learn trades, start businesses, build things, kids like I'd been at 17, eager to work but needing someone to teach me how. My phone rang around 9:30. Jennifer. Hi, Dad. Hi, sweetheart. I wanted to call, not about the money or anything, just to check on you. I'm okay. Are you really? I mean, this morning you had chest pains, and then all this happened. I'm okay, I repeated. Better than I've been in a long time, actually. Good. That's good. A pause. Dad, can I ask you something? Sure. When you sold the bakery building for my business school, were you scared? The question surprised me. Scared of what? Scared that you were making a mistake? Scared that I wouldn't appreciate it? Scared that you'd never be able to build it back? I thought about that spring of 2003, the sleepless nights, the worry that I was gambling our security on Patricia's ambition. Terrified, I said honestly. But you did it anyway. Yes. Why? Because that's what love looked like to me then, sacrificing without counting the cost. And now? What does love look like now? Another good question. Setting boundaries, protecting myself so I can stay healthy enough to love you for years to come, even if we don't inherit anything? Especially then. She was quiet for a long moment. I'm proud of you, Dad. That caught me off guard. Proud of me? For standing up for yourself, for not letting us walk all over you, for teaching us that love isn't the same thing as giving people whatever they want. Even though it cost you $15 million? It didn't cost me $15 million, Dad. I never had $15 million. I just thought I did. Smart girl. She always had been. Jennifer? Yeah? Next time you visit, bring one of your kids. I'd like to teach them how to make cinnamon rolls. Really? Really? The recipe is written down somewhere, but it's better learned by doing. I'd love that. Emma would love that. Good. And Jennifer? Yeah. Thank you for calling, just to call. Thank you for answering. After we hung up, I sat back in my chair and closed my eyes. Tomorrow, I'd call Dr. Martinez about the chest pains, get a proper checkup. Next week, I'd start looking for a small space to rent. Maybe open a little teaching kitchen for Foster's Legacy Fund. Nothing fancy. Just a place where kids could learn to work with their hands. Maybe I'd teach Jennifer's daughter Emma how to make bread. Show her the 4-generation recipe, written in my great-grandfather's careful script. Maybe she'd be the 5th generation to carry it forward. Not as an inheritance, not as something she was owed, but as something freely given, freely received. The way love was supposed to work. I looked around the house one more time. Sarah's pictures on the mantel, the worn spots on the carpet where we'd walked the same paths for decades. Tomorrow this would all belong to kids I'd never meet. Tonight it was enough to know I'd chosen love over money, even when the money had been mine to keep. 6 months later, I'm standing in a small storefront on Elm Street, teaching a 16-year-old named Marcus how to knead dough properly. Feel that resistance? I ask, guiding his hands. That's the gluten developing. That's what gives bread its structure. Marcus nods seriously. He's one of 12 kids in our first Foster's Legacy class. Kids who aged out of foster care, kids from families where college isn't an option, kids who just want to learn how to make something with their hands. Mr. Foster? A girl named Sarah raises her flower-covered hand. How do you know when it's ready? You'll feel it, I tell her. It'll stop fighting you and start working with you. Kind of like life, I think, but don't say. The Foster's Legacy Teaching Kitchen isn't much to look at. 6 workstations, 2 ovens, industrial refrigeration, and a small storefront where we sell what the kids make. No fancy equipment, no marble countertops, but it smells like heaven, like yeast and flour and possibility. Patricia visits sometimes, usually brings her son Jake, who's 14 and surprisingly good with pastry. She doesn't ask about money anymore, doesn't suggest I'm making poor financial decisions. We talk about recipes, about Jake's school, about her work, like a father and daughter should. Jennifer comes by more often. Her daughter Emma is a natural baker, all patience and precision. She's already mastered the Foster family cinnamon roll recipe. Grandpa, she asked last week, why did great-great-grandfather start the bakery? Because people need bread, I told her. And making it well is an honest way to serve. Is that why you started this place too? Smart kid. Yes, I suppose it is. The chest pains turned out to be stress-related, not cardiac. Dr. Martinez wasn't surprised. Sometimes our hearts hurt from more than medical problems, he said when he gave me the all-clear. True enough. My heart feels lighter these days. Smaller bank account, bigger peace of mind. Turns out that's a pretty good trade. The kids keep me busy. Marcus wants to open his own bakery someday. Sarah is thinking about culinary school. A quiet boy named David has discovered he has a gift for cake decorating. They call me Mr. Foster, but I think of them as family. The kind of family that chooses each other, not the kind that expects inheritance. Sometimes people ask if I regret giving away the money. I tell them about Marcus, who was living in his car before he found us. About Sarah, who's now working part-time at a restaurant while taking business classes. About David, whose wedding cakes are already booked 3 months out. Then I ask if they think $15 million could have bought me anything better than that. They usually stop asking. Last week, Patricia called with news. Dad, we're pregnant. Jake's going to have a little sister. That's wonderful, honey. How are you feeling? Good. Scared, but good. A pause. Dad, when she's old enough, will you teach her to bake too? If you want me to. I want her to know her grandfather. Really know him. Not just see him as someone who might leave her something someday. She'll know me, I promised. And Dad, I want to make sure she understands what family really means, what love really looks like. What's that, sweetheart? Giving without keeping score, loving without conditions, being there for each other because we choose to, not because we have to. I smiled. Where did you learn that? From my father. Eventually. Yesterday was Father's Day again. No action plans this year, no power of attorney forms, Just Patricia and Jennifer and their kids bringing flowers and homemade cards and terrible dad jokes. We spent the afternoon teaching the grandkids how to make dinner rolls. Emma showed her cousin Jake the secret to getting the butter just right. Jake taught Emma how to braid challah. 4 generations in one kitchen, passing down knowledge instead of expectation. In the evening, after everyone had gone home, I sat in my small apartment above the teaching kitchen and thought about the year that had passed. A year ago, I was a rich man with poor relationships. Today, I'm a man of modest means with a family that chooses to love me. Turns out love is worth more than $15 million. Turns out setting boundaries doesn't break relationships, it saves them. Turns out the best inheritance you can leave isn't money. It's teaching people that they're valuable for who they are, not what they might inherit. If you're listening to this and you recognize yourself in my daughter's story, it's not too late to change. Start calling because you miss the person, not because you're checking their health. Start visiting because you enjoy their company, not because you want to assess their assets. Start loving without keeping score. Your family relationships and your soul will thank you. And if you're listening because you recognize yourself in my story, remember this: you have the right to set boundaries. You have the right to be loved for who you are, not what you own. You have the right to say no to people who treat you like an inheritance waiting to happen. Even if those people share your DNA, especially then, love shouldn't have to be bought. Real love can't be.